The war room had gone completely silent. Not the silence of peace. The silence of men who had stopped breathing. Varka 7. Supreme Commander of the Drekkhari. Species. A species that had never lost a battle in 4 centuries, stood absolutely still. His obsidian claws pressing into the observation rail hard enough to crack the metal below him in the training yard. A human woman was kneeling in the dirt, and 2 of his deadliest juvenile hunters were dangling from her hands. The kittens. Understand what you're looking at. The Drekkhari are not soldiers. They are weapons that learned to speak, born with reinforced skeletal plating, reflex speeds that make human reaction time look geological. And a pack hierarchy enforced through ritualized combat since birth, they are by every measurable standard the most efficient killing species the known galaxy had ever cataloged. They had colonized 12 worlds, not through negotiation, through the simple, unambiguous language of superior violence. When the Interstellar Accord first brought humanity to the table, the Drekkhari accepted the arrangement the way a river accepts a stone, tolerantly, temporarily. Certain the obstacle would eventually be swept aside. They called humans. The paper species. Soft, breakable, decorative. Mira had been assigned to the Drekkhari. Carrier Obsidian Fang as a cultural liaison. She had been there 8 months. In that time, she had learned their language, memorized their clan lineages, and somehow become the favorite person of every juvenile hunter aboard the ship. Varka had found it mildly amusing, had it started the way. Always starts with juveniles. A look held a half-second too long. A shoulder that brushed without apology. 2 young hunters, Drek and Sova, circling each other while the other juveniles spread to the walls like water pulling. Back before a wave, every Drekkhari aboard recognized the pattern. The dominant spiral. The prelude to blood at their age, juveniles couldn't stop it once it started. The neurochemical cascade that triggered combat override was involuntary. They had no channel. Only instinct. Then Mira stood up from where she'd been sitting cross-legged against the far wall, reading something on her datapad. She didn't rush. She didn't call for help. She simply closed the datapad, tucked it under her arm, and began walking toward the juveniles who were about to tear each other apart. Someone stop her. Hissed Commandant Reth. Varka raised one hand. Wait, he didn't know why he said it. Some instinct older than rank, older than training told him to watch. Drek lunged first. 60 kilograms of engineered muscle and juvenile fury. Moving at a speed that should have ended the conversation before it started, Sova met him. The collision echoed off the observation deck windows. Claws found purchase. Jaws locked. Sova's claws opened a gash across Drek's shoulder. Drek responded by driving his opponent into the ground and going for the throat. Mira didn't stop walking. She reached the edge of the fight, planted her feet and reached in. One hand closed on the back of Drek's neck. Not grabbing, not yanking, placing, precise, deliberate. Her thumb and forefinger settling at the exact junction of the cervical vertebrae. Her other hand found Sova's scruff in the same motion, same grip, same terrifying precision. She lifted. Both juveniles came off the ground, and both of them, locked in mortal combat half a second ago, went completely, immediately, profoundly still. The grip she held, Varka knew it. Every Drekkhari warrior knew it. The submission hold. Targeted pressure on the neural cluster at the base of the skull, triggering an involuntary freeze response. Senior warriors spent years learning to execute it correctly. The margin for error was a few millimeters. She had performed it simultaneously. On to moving targets, in under a second, without being Drekkhari, which meant she hadn't learned it from them, which meant she had figured it out herself. Varka felt something shift in his chest. Something old recognition. Mira held them there for 3 seconds. Then she lowered them gently. No drama, and knelt between them in the dirt. A medical kit appeared from her jacket. She worked without speaking, cleaning Drek's gash, sealing Sova's torn shoulder. The juveniles sat motionless. Their instincts screamed apex predators submit, do not move. Their eyes said it was just Mira, who brought food puzzles and laughed too loud at her own jokes. The two facts did not reconcile. They simply sat with both of them, stunned. While she finished her work, when she was done, she looked at them both in turn, that flat, unhurried human gaze, and said two words in their own language. Not again. Then she stood, picked up her datapad, and walked back to her corner. Within minutes, both juveniles had followed her. Pressed against her sides like they were trying to apologize through proximity, she let them. On the observation deck, no one spoke for a long time. It was Reth who finally broke the silence. How did she know the hold? Varka was quiet for a moment. She didn't learn it, he said. She derived it. Her species spent 100,000 years hunting animals larger and faster than themselves, without claws, without armor, without speed. They survived by understanding anatomy better than any species in recorded history. Not their own anatomy, the anatomy of everything they hunted. Every pressure point, every vulnerability, every instant of the opponent's body that, if correctly targeted, ended the encounter before it became a fight. He turned from the window. We called them the paper species. We were identifying the wrong property. Paper isn't weak. Paper held the knowledge that built civilizations, upgrade her security clearance to Alpha Tier, and pull every diplomatic record we have on human biological research. I want to know what else they've figured out about us that we haven't figured out. About ourselves. Here is what the Drekkhari had never understood about humanity. Kindness, for most species, is the absence of capability. You are gentle because you cannot afford to be otherwise. For humans, it is the opposite. Mira was kind to those juveniles because she had made a choice, because she had looked at every available option, including the options that ended conversations permanently, and selected the one that left everyone alive and slightly better off. The gentleness was not a limitation. It was a preference, and preferences, unlike limitations, can change. The Drekkhari had spent centuries cataloging threats by raw force, claws, plating, mass, speed. They had never considered that the most dangerous thing in the known galaxy might be a species that had already learned to do catastrophic damage and simply decided not to. Most of the time, below the observation deck, Mira was teaching the juveniles a human card game. She was losing on purpose. Judging by how loudly Drek was celebrating, she caught Varka's eye through the observation window and smiled. He did not smile back. He was too busy updating his. And that is where we leave them. A commander who came in certain of humanity's place in the universe and walked away certain of nothing at all. If this story hit different for you, you already know what to do. Smash that like button. And if you want more stories that flip everything you thought you knew about power, strength, and what it really means to be dangerous, subscribe to Luna Cub Tales. Every story we tell lives in that space between what looks weak and what actually isn't. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.